highways never end. Yesterday is a memory, today is just a friend.
All right, here's the story of Mr. Gordon Lightfoot. He was born in Orillia, Ontario. It's about 100,000 kilometers out of Toronto, home of Stephen Leacock. Now, as a kid, he did what a lot of singers do, right? You just go and you sing in a choir. He was pretty good. In fact, at the age of 13, he even sang in Canada's legendary venue, Massey Hall. But in the late 50s, Gordon decided to get a little more pro, so he packed his bags and he moved to Los Angeles, where he studied at Hollywood's Westlake College of Music. But it was back at home when things really started to take off. He returned to Toronto in the 60s. He started playing a bunch of local gigs, and then in 1966, he released his debut album, simply titled Lightfoot. The record came out, and the radio play started.
Then you wake up to the promise of your dream world coming true.
And Lightfoot became known for his very straightforward and powerful lyrics. Love, politics, social injustice, he tackled it all. And by the 70s, well, Gordon's music hit it big south of the border.
If you could read my road, could tell.
Gordon Lightfoot has been called Canada's greatest songwriter, and his songs have been covered by greats from all over the world. I'm talking your Elvis Presleys, your Johnny Cashes, and even Bob Dylan. Gordon has won 15 Junos, has a star on Canada's Walk of Fame, and he was one of the first inductees into Canada's Singer-Songwriters Hall of Fame. But in September of 2002, everything changed. So Gordon's getting ready to do a show in his hometown of Orillia when he had an abdominal hemorrhage and was airlifted to hospital. He was rushed into surgery and was in a coma for 5 weeks. But did the knock on death's door stop him? Of course not. Gordon came back. 2004, he released his 20th album called Harmony, and now my man is back on the road for a North American tour.
There's his life, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gordon Lightfoot. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine, George. Doing very well.
So you're going to go on stage at Massey Hall, which is something you've done a million times in your career. And if you go back to being 13 when you first went on, what does it feel like when you walk on stage now?
Well, you know, it's a very special event for all of us, of course, and the members of the orchestra and family members who get involved make a huge family reunion type of situation for us. Mm-hmm. And the renewing the relationship with the fans, and feeling very, very happy to be there, to be able to be going on stage again at Massey Hall is very special and important to us.
Is it different when you're playing a show in Toronto versus playing a show somewhere else, like say you're in Kansas, because there are all these other people that you know here and family? Is there a challenge in focusing on a show when you have all this other stuff happening around you?
No, they're all clocked into the same songs and the same material, and it is the same routine as we go about doing it. And there's a certain method to doing it, so it's planned in such a way that it works, and that we can do 60 shows a year. And people say, "My God, you must be out there on the road all the time. You know, you must be. God, you must get tired." You know, and I say, "No, I'm sorry to have to tell you, I feel rejuvenated by all this, and fortunate as well at the same time."
Is it different for you after, I mean, the illness and everybody heard? I mean, the media reports it was like the end of Gordon Lightfoot. He's really sick. Was it scary inside, or did you have any moments where you thought, I may not pull through this?
Mostly, I don't actually remember anything for the first 6 weeks. I was taken by helicopter from Orillia to Hamilton, and I don't remember anything for 6 weeks. I was taken there on the 8th of December, or the 8th of September, and woke up just about around Halloween. Wow. One of the first things I saw, people asked if I saw any hallucinations, was witches going by, and the doctor came in and said, "That's the nurses. They're doing a skit for the kids down in the children's wing."
You thought you were hallucinating and they were just nurses walking by?
They were just people nurses walking by dressed up like witches. I said, "Oh my God, this is the first of these hallucinations they told me that I would find." That was the first thing that I actually remembered for 6 weeks.
Wow.
So from that point on, then I started worrying about, well, what are we going to do next, and are we going to be able to continue? And all that sort of thing.
You know, you hear a lot about an artist from the outside, and that I grew up in this country. I know a lot about who you are, what I read, and my Uncle Paul used to play me your songs, and I know all of this.
If Uncle Stroumboulopoulos likes my music, I'd like to meet him.
Yes, well, you can meet Paul Copley. I'll bring him to the show. Bring him to your show. I'll bring him to your show.
I got his name wrong.
No, you're fine. But when you're in it, when you all your fame is building around you, and all this stuff is around you, do you ever get a real sense of what's happening? Did you get a sense? I mean, Elvis was covering your songs, and Dylan and Johnny Cash and Barbara, like they were all covering your songs.
Yeah, that was the United Artists era, where I made 5 albums for United Artists, and during that time we had cover recordings. Let's say, first of all, by Ian and Sylvia here, initially, and then eventually Peter, Paul, and Mary, and then from there I had albums. I had a management contract, because the song that Peter, Paul, and Mary did went up to number 5 on the Billboard chart down there, and so forth. And because of that, I was given an opportunity. And I might add that my friend Ian had to talk me into it, because I was really, really nervous about signing contracts by that point, because I'd already been in a couple of contracts by the time I was 25, and I had to get out of them.
You're just ready
to get out of some contracts. And I had just gotten married, and I had a couple of kids too, so it was that unerring sense that drove me onward through all of these pitfalls. And
when Elvis covered your stuff, he was big.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
I was to meet him. I was to meet Elvis. I had an appointment to meet Elvis at Buffalo Memorial Auditorium. And so Rick, the bass player, and I took a party of people over there, and I was to find my way back, but there were 18,000 people there. And by the time I got back to keep my appointment, it was Elvis has left the building.
You actually experienced that?
Yes, through the intercom it was Elvis has left the building.
Did you meet him later?
No, he was gone. I was supposed to meet him, but I couldn't get back. I was going upstream at the time. I had 18,000 people trying to get out, and I was trying to work my way to the backstage door.
And he had left the building.
Yes.
In the annals of folk music and pop music and rock music, they talk about the day that Bob Dylan plugged in. You were there?
Yes, I was. Yeah, yes, I was.
Did you know he was going to do it?
Well, I mean, he had Harvey Brooks there, and Paul Butterfield, and Mike Bloomfield. I knew that
something was up.
They were going to do something. Yes, they did. They went up. Some people in the front rows began to throw change up on the stage, because people had started doing that in some of his concerts. And they started doing it in Newport, but somehow it didn't. There was just a tinkle. It never amounted to anything. I remember him at the last minute trying to get on stage, trying to ask Albert where his harmonica was, and I think that's where Paul got his "Where's My Harmonica" Albert song from. I'm not quite sure, but
that sounds like it could be that.
I don't know if we should even repeat that one. Edit that.
And when that first thing happened, I mean, the reverberations around music at the time were massive. Did you know that was what was going to happen?
Yes, I think they had an idea, but nobody cared. Everybody just kept pressing onward, and all of the publicity and everything that just, it was ignored. All that Bob was thinking about was the same as I was. I'm going to write my next album now. It's time to make another record. We realized that we were under contract and we had obligations to fulfill and all that sort of thing. And I got to know him quite well, because we were in the same office, and I got to interact with him on a lot of occasions, and got to visit up at Woodstock once, and he's been at my house several times in Toronto. So
when you've been across this country a lot of times, how's it changed? Like, going out west in the '60s or the '50s versus what it's like now?
Well, it's a lot busier now in all the major centers out west, and we were just out there too. And Edmonton is going strong, and of course Vancouver always. I got down to the east too last year in Atlantic Canada. Things are humping down there. A little bit more genteel sort of a feel, like I remember in St. John, New Brunswick, I got that kind of feel. I got a good feel in St. John's. There were other places we played. We did Halifax too, and I had a good feeling there. I really loved being in the Maritimes. This year was a cold time, though, and it was cold backstage in the arenas that we played, and boy, it was rough.
I can imagine.
Anyway, we won't worry about that.
No, wait, stick around. We're going to have more of a conversation with Gordon Lightfoot when we return here on The Hour. And this, I'm just going to do Archie, back here on the hour with Gordon Lightfoot, the man who's called an icon. But you don't see yourself. I suppose you can't see yourself in that light. That would be weird. If you wake up in the morning and go, legend, that would be too much.
That's a tough one to answer. You know, I'm more interested in doing the work than being the legend, and by doing that, it causes me to do more work and to refine my skills even more. Our band is almost like a hockey team, you know, that we've got that locker room mentality, you know, the camaraderie and what is the other word I'm looking for? Chemistry that you need to have a band is the same that you need to have a hockey team.
And I suppose you have to be insulated.
And you got to do the traveling too, and have the tour secretary and tour manager and the whole business.
Is it liberating as a man who's known for being such a great songwriter to now approach this part of your career not as a songwriter, but as a man who's written these songs?
Well, I'm still a songwriter, but I can be looked at the other way as well, as a person who's written the songs, yes, that's fine. But I probably, there's always a song or two. You need songs that you have like for little practice animals for rehearsing and tuning and stuff like that you work on when people are like not there and you're not working with your band and stuff like that. But getting in the studio, the isolation is too much, really, with my present circumstances now and my family responsibilities now don't allow me to be that reckless as to ignore them.
You have to learn that, don't you? Because I imagine you must have fought that for a while.
Yeah, I did. I really did, and it cost me in some ways, but I'm happier overall because of it. And the responsibilities that come your way, you handle them as they arrive, and keep moving forward. And you know, I've had a great life. It's been an interesting life.
Sure. Now, unless you've figured it out and managed to get to be 140 years old, you're closer to the end than you are to the beginning. How do you feel about that? Are you good with aging?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. I can only remember one part about when I was out cold. It was no worries, no cares.
You had no worries and no cares, but you keep very busy. I suppose that helps.
Well, I started thinking about, as soon as I woke up, I started thinking again. That was, you know, this was like about but this time was about the end of November. And I'd been in there since November the 8th, so that's like about 6 weeks later, 6 or 7 weeks. And it was, how are we going to get back to work? And so I called up the guys. I said, go and get the raw material. It's at the house, and go in the studio and let's do it.
What was that call like? What was that call like? I imagine, like, what was it like for them when, oh God, Gordon's back. We got to go to work.
They said, where's the fundamental material? I said, it's at home in my office.
Go get it.
I said, go and get it. And they did, and they worked on it. And we had been fortunately working in Hamilton anyway at Grand Avenue Studio. And so they were able to come over here and work, and at night, Rick, the bass player, would bring me the results of the day's work at the hospital.
Do you have a guitar?
Listen to the overdubs that they did during the day. And I would do that with a headset. I didn't want to like disturb the other guests.
They probably would have liked it. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, okay,
really
George.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy your show.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gordon Lightfoot, everybody. The Gordon Lightfoot run at Massey Hall in Toronto is a legendary run. He's playing for 4 nights this week, starting tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right, tomorrow on the show, this is Melanie C. Sporty Spice is going to be here. Plus, for real, my favorite Spice. I had a moment for Jerry, but mostly it was Sporty. Plus, conservative commentator Mark Stein is going to be here Thursday. Gordon Ramsay. And there will be lots of swearing. CBC.ca/The Hour is our website. If you want to come on down and see a live taping, links are on there as well. Thanks for watching. That's time.